Hi, I'm Jason Brett. I'm the host of Product Coffee. And today we are in our third session in our four-part series of Pragmatic Institute at Product Coffee. Today we've got Steve Gaylor, who's an instructor at Pragmatic Institute, has been in product management and product marketing and product leadership roles for his entire career. He's been an instructor with Pragmatic Institute for almost a decade, for the last 8 years. And we want to welcome Steve as he's going to talk to us about identifying our distinctive competencies, why our customers think we're important, and what we do in the market that's really unique. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Steve and let you take it away. Let me turn off my sharing. And thank you so much, Steve. Welcome.
Thank you, Jason. It's great to be here and looking forward to a good session here. We'll get everything. So you guys, Jason, can you see my screen?
Yep, we've got you.
All right, cool. Always like to double check, this technology, you can never tell. But welcome everyone. As I said earlier, very glad to be here. And we really want to talk about distinctive competencies. It's a very important tenet that we reinforce with the pragmatic training and introduce it in our foundations class, and then leverage it in several other classes as well from a concept perspective. And the reason it's so important, it helps us address some of these common challenges that you often hear. I don't know how many of you've faced these. We can't clearly articulate how we are better than our competitors. We want to do everything and don't partner for anything, right? We've got that not invented here mentality sometimes in some places. Market doesn't care about the things we emphasize. Right? Oftentimes we spend a lot of time communicating and putting things out there, and they kind of fall flat, and people don't really seem to necessarily resonate. We also have lots and lots of opportunities. Most of us have more opportunities to pursue than we have resources to be able to pursue, and so we really don't know which of those opportunities give us the best chance of success, and which are good problems for us to go solve in the market, if you will. And that last one, I think that one has a lot of different facets to it. We're not really sure how or when to say no. That one I think is especially true for product people, because we kind of are yes people, right? We want to help people. We like to say yes. We want to say yes. So it's hard for us. Sometimes we actually kind of have to practice to say no. So this distinctive competencies concept is going to help us address all these questions, right? Each of these issues, we can apply that concept to each of these common challenges. Also, I'd like to encourage you as we go through this content, if you've got questions, feel free to ask those questions at any time. Wave your hand, use your virtual hand there, your Zoom hand, drop it into the chat, whatever you'd like to do. And would really like to encourage you to ask those questions as we go through some of these concepts. I would be remiss from talking about delivering any sort of pragmatic presentation without talking about the pragmatic framework, 37 activities that are necessary to successfully manage and market products. The activities on the framework are organized such that these on the left-hand side are very strategic, and as we move to the right, more and more execution-oriented. The activities above the center line are really all about markets and business. And below the center line, those activities are much more centric. And as you might guess, distinctive competencies, one of the activities on that framework, and the one we're really going to focus on as we spend time together here this morning. And Jason mentioned some of my predecessors, people pragmatic that have been here prior to me and have delivered some of the content, Paul and Cindy. And we're kind of going through a funnel process. We've started out as a group talking about market problems. We've evaluated those problems based on some key criteria to determine which of those are actually opportunities, problems that should be solved in the market. And there's a number of additional filters we can apply to help us understand if this is a good opportunity for us. And that's really kind of where we've been focused in this series of presentations, and where it will continue next month as Amy presents as well. So we start off with problems in the market that deserve a solution. Is this a problem that should be solved by someone? And then those that should be solved by someone, those are opportunities. But now it's time for us to understand, is this an opportunity for us? Is this a problem we should solve? So we're kind of at this layer in the previous presentations that we've given to Product Coffee are all about evaluating opportunities. Last week, Cindy did alignment with strategy. Previous month, Paul kicked things off with kind of the big picture and how you go through that evaluation kind of activity. So today, we're going to focus on distinctive competencies, how we use it to address some of those challenges that I talked about earlier, but we're also going to use it to think about and use it to evaluate the specific opportunities that we have. Help us to answer that question, is this a problem we should solve? Right? Someplace we want to apply our time and our resources. Now, most people are familiar with the term core competencies. Everybody familiar with that term, core competencies? We know that term. Anybody got kind of a definition of core competencies? What are your core competencies? How would you describe or define the core competencies?
Things you do best and things that generate the most revenue, and things
right,
that
Mark, I think, whoops, sorry, go ahead.
And things that your company is investing in.
Yeah, I think that's a good definition of those core competencies, right? Those things that we are really, really good at. That's kind of the way we're our starting point for these distinctive competencies. Distinctive competencies are really a subset of those core competencies. Those core distinctive competencies are the things that we are really good at that others are not. So they are distinctive to us. They are unique to us. And I think the key differences, Mark, you touched on those core competencies, the things we're really good at, the things we invest in, and things of that nature. Sometimes, and quite often, I think those core competencies may not be related to our product, right? They may be process oriented or execution oriented, or all kinds of things that could be core competencies. When we talk about distinctive competencies, those distinctive competencies are related to our unique ability to deliver value to the market. So distinctive competencies are core competencies, a subset of core competencies, things we're really good at that others are not, that our competition is not good at, and it's our unique ability to deliver value to the market. Now, those distinctive competencies are very important for a number of reasons. If you think about some of those challenges we talked about, you begin to see the importance of those distinctive competencies. The first thing that they provide to us is the ability to differentiate from the competition. How are we different from the competition? What should we be focusing on and really delivering to the market, messaging to the market as our competitive differentiation? In fact, one great way to think about distinctive competencies, kind of a starting point as you start to develop your list of distinctive competencies, is to think about, why does the market buy from us instead of buying from the competition? Generally speaking, the reason they buy from you instead of buying from your competitors is because of your distinctive competencies. So it gives us that ability to differentiate. It also can create barriers to competition. If you are specifically known for having a distinctive competency, if you are known for the breadth of your product offering, if you're known for the depth of your expertise in a given functional area, those can be your distinctive competencies, right? And they can create those barriers to competition. If you have that reputation, if you have that understanding, then it can be difficult for others to come in and compete with you. They have to develop that own set of expertise. And in fact, when Ben was kind of giving his introduction, the overview of the company, the first thing I was hearing was like, okay, Ben just listed all the distinctive competencies, right? Why should you buy? That's kind of what we're talking about here, right? I don't know, Ben, if those are unique. I don't know if they're, how they relate to the competition, but you definitely rolled through what we would consider to be some distinctive competencies. So, also, in the context really that we're talking about today, and in the context of some of the previous presentations that the folks in Pragmatic have given, helps us understand, are we qualified to solve this problem? Right? Is this a problem that we should solve? Does it leverage our expertise? Does it leverage our distinctive competencies? How well is it aligned? How well is this new opportunity aligned with our distinctive competencies? So that's how we bring it in. That's how we use it, in this context that we're talking about of evaluating that opportunity layer. Right? Very important. Another way, and another one of the challenges that we had listed there was all about knowing when or what decision to make in those build, buy, or partner decisions. And distinctive competencies can really help a great deal with that. The guidance that we give to you is that you should buy those basic technologies. You should build to your distinctive competencies and then partner for everything else. So we can use those distinctive competencies to say, is this something we're really good at? Are we going to leverage our key abilities? Right? If so, we want to build that. We want to build to our distinctive competencies. We want to keep our resources focused on those things that you do uniquely well. Right? That's the way we kind of want to think about that. So we use those distinctive competencies in all kinds of ways. You see distinctive competencies in the market all the time. You may not realize you're seeing them in the market all the time, but you do. All kinds of things that could be those distinctive competencies. Examples, some of those are listed here. And examples, I just talked about Ben listing the distinctive competencies, so you see them reinforced in the market. Lots of other ways we bump into them. But one important thing to keep in mind about your distinctive competencies is they are really oriented to, the market empowers you, right, to use those distinctive competencies. You can build your distinctive competencies over time. You can and should reinforce them in the market, but it's really the market that empowers you to use those distinctive competencies. A good example of that, and one I like to use in class all the time, of distinctive competencies and how they get reinforced. If I walked into a Walmart, and as I walked into Walmart, the greeter person there at the front door of the Walmart said, "Hi, Mr. Gaylor. So nice to see you again. Great to recognize you there. Even in that mask, I recognize you. It's great to have you back in Walmart. Mr. Gaylor, we've got some new arrivals over in menswear, some fresh fashion for the spring season, some things I think you would really like. Some styles you would really like. It's a color palette that I know you really enjoy. Can I take you over and show you those new arrivals in menswear?" What would my response be if I got that kind of greeting at Walmart? How would I react to that greeting?
Shock.
Shock would probably be the polite term, Calvin, right? Time warp, craziness, what's going on here? I would just walked into the wrong store. Oh my gosh, what's going on, right? If I walked into a Nordstrom or a Bespoke Tailor or someplace like that, I got that exact same greeting. Yeah, absolutely. Take me over. Show me what you've got, right? What's going on here? That Nordstrom, customer intimate kind of distinctive competency, right? Know your customer kind of thing. Men's Warehouse and kind of a different model, but same kind of concept, right? Walmart's distinctive competency, they are the low price leader, and they reinforce that with us all the time, over and over and over, right? So that's that kind of distinctive competency, right? Something that's valued by the market, something that the market empowers you to use, right? It empowers you to do. What is our unique ability to deliver value to the market? And again, there's some other examples here on the slide. Lots of instances you may run into. A great one, I'll take you back to the good old days and talk about when we used to fly all the time. For those of you who flew Southwest Airlines, you may know Southwest has a focus on operational excellence, right? You fly Southwest, you know that the plane's going to be essentially the same plane every time you fly Southwest. Their boarding process is going to be very different to other airlines. They're going to have that plane in, they're going to get it unloaded, they're going to load it very quickly. It's going to be on the gate a short amount of time. They're going to turn it around and put it back in the air. So that leads us to an expectation from a customer experience perspective. We know that they're going to load differently. We know that the closest thing to first class seats are going to be those exit row seats that the people in the front of the line are going to claim. So they load and unload very differently. So that focus on operational excellence. What you may not know about the Southwest is they actually hedge their fuel purchases. So they'll commit to their fuel contracts about 6 to 9 months into the future. And that's why they sell tickets 6 to 9 months into the future. They're matching their ticket prices with that fuel cost, so they know what's going to go on in the future. So these are examples of distinctive competencies. Domain expertise, I mentioned product portfolio depth, right? All kinds of things that come into that. And Mark, you ask a great question. How would we differentiate between distinctive competencies and brand? I think the distinctive competencies reinforce the brand, right? That really is a part of your brand identity, your loyalty. Could be a distinctive competency, especially company loyalty. If your competitors don't have a strong brand identity, then your brand identity could be one of your distinctive competencies. So they're certainly can be very tied together very tightly. Certainly from a brand identity perspective, your distinctive competencies are something you want to reinforce to reinforce that brand. I will tell you that your distinctive competencies may last for a period of time, right? You may have a distinctive competency in technology, for example, for 6 months, a year, 18 months, something like that. And then that goes away. Either competitors come up with something that no longer makes that competency unique to you. So I would say that your distinctive competencies may change more frequently than your brand identity. And I think Dee's got a great point there, right? Brand should drive the competency. You shouldn't have a distinctive competency as an outlier from your brand. So very definitely very tightly related. Great question. Great question. All right, so how do we determine what our distinctive competencies are for our specific organization? There are a series of steps that we want to go through. For those of you who've been through Pragmatic class, there's tools out in the Pragmatic community that Connor's talked about, but you also, it's pretty easy kind of thing to go through. The first thing we want to do is think about what are all of the attributes that we have in the company that we use to deliver value to the market. Right? All kinds of things that could be. What are your core competencies? What are those things you do that you're really good at in delivering value to the market? And so that's kind of the first column, right? What's that attribute look like? How are we delivering that value to the market? Then we want you to ask the question, is that attribute valued by the market? Yes or no? So now we're starting to narrow these things down. Is this truly something that's valued by the market? And then we want to ask that next question, okay, are they materially different to our competition? Right? They're not distinctive competencies unless we are very clearly different, very clearly better than the competition in those critical categories. So those are kind of the steps we go through to start to window that thing down and get to a set of distinctive competencies. You may end up with one or two. You may have several. You may have some that are specific to some markets that are distinctive competencies in some markets and not others. But that's kind of what that process looks like. In the last, and certainly very definitely not the least important thing that we want to look at, is the proof. How do we prove that this thing is valued by the market? How do we prove that we're different to the competition? If you've attended our classes, you know we talk about outside in versus inside out. We want to be out in the market. We want to identify those things in the market and that problems that need to be solved and things the market cares about, and then bring those back into the company so we can focus on those. And the counter to that is inside out, right? We're going to go build something. We're going to go take something out to the market and see how it goes. I don't think there's anything in the world within a company that's easier to turn inside out than a distinctive competency. It's very easy for us to start to put politely, believe our own propaganda, right? Believe our own marketing, right? We say, oh yeah, we're really good at this. We're really better than everybody else. And it's not really the case. That's not really true. So we have that proof section just to question that, right? Force us to think through that. Is that truly unique? So what we want to do, and one of the folks that kind of attended, one of the early attendants as they were speaking, said one of the great things of value that you got out of these sessions was the smaller group exercises, the smaller teams. So what we're going to do is actually, Jason's going to break everybody up into breakout sessions, and we're going to go work on creating some distinctive competencies. These are basically the three kind of steps in that process. What are the attributes where your organization delivers value to the market? Then which are the ones that are materially different to others? And then how would you prove that, right? Think about how you would actually go through that proof process. And one thing that's always interesting when we go through these kinds of sessions in the class is when somebody identifies a distinctive competency that they are not promoting in the market today. All right, so hey, we're really good at this. The market cares about this. This is an important part of their buying process, and we don't even talk about it today. So a little bonus here, if you come up with distinctive competencies that are things that you're not reinforcing in the market today, right? Something new you could use. All right. Anybody, any volunteers who wants to go first to kind of give an example of what you came up with in your session?
Steve, this is Jerry. I'll jump in first, just because you were in the room when we came up with this one, and it was one that I thought about, but I don't know how broad it is, but that's the maturity of your organization. I work for Honeywell, which, as many of you know, has been around, I think, since the dawn of time. I think the founder of Honeywell was Adam, maybe. But it's as a mature organization, there's a lot of experience there. There's a lot of knowledge there. We've made the mistakes in the past when, the internet isn't what it is today. So maturity.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great one. Is that maturity? Clearly, I would say I know a little bit about Honeywell's businesses, but I think, Jerry, that one is an area, that maturity, longevity, whatever term you want to put on that. That is definitely one I would think that would separate you from the competition, right? You were truly different than the competition in that way, right? In that way,
yes. And some of our competitors, like, because we're into a lot of things. So in some markets, we go up against Siemens, for example, or Emerson, which are also mature organizations, but not everywhere. So there are other markets where a lot of the competitors are younger companies.
Right. Yeah. And one thing I like about that one, especially, we talked about that third column, prove it, right? That's pretty easy to prove that we've been around longer than the competition. Now that isn't something you would want to reinforce when you're competing against Siemens or when you're competing against, some of the other companies maybe that have been around as long.
Right.
But definitely, when you're in those certain market segments that where those aren't the competition, then the maturity, the longevity, I think that's a great one. And it's easy to prove, right? Easy to differentiate, easy to prove. Just got to make sure it's valued by the market. That's the big trick, I would think, with that one. Do they value that longevity?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a great one. That's a really good one. Who else has one? Who wants to go next?
Well, we were actually talking. We had an interesting conversation about the difference between, companies that offer a good or a physical product versus, our company, Skookum, which is a services provider, right? And at the core of everything that we offer as a services provider, it's really our people that make us successful. So, maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but our core competency truly is the expertise that we bring and the people that make up our organization, our ability to offer that expertise to the market.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of a distinctive competency. Is your expertise, your level, the people that you provide, that resource, are you clearly different than the competition in that way?
I'd like to think so. Backed by, numerous years running now of being Charlotte's best place to work. So at least there is some backing to that claim.
All right, because that was the next question, especially when I like to think so, then the next question is prove it, right? Best places to work for, that means we're going to attract some top talent, right? Maybe you've got testimonials from some of your customers that have said, your people made all the difference, right? Things like that. Lots of places, if you can get independent third parties to do some of that research on your behalf, and present their findings, then oftentimes, those are data points you can point to, proof points you can point to. but we want to have that proof. We want to have the proof that it's valued by the market, and proof that it's that you're unique, you're distinctive to your company.
See,
I'll volunteer.
Okay, go ahead.
So the company I work for competes in a couple of different domestic and international niche tax areas. And we compete directly with the Big Four and the regional CPA type firms. And the areas of tax that we focus on are historically very manual, paper intensive, and a great match for these firms because that means high hourly billings, right? As far as manual is slow, tedious. And so we've been a disruptor. So our strength, I think, is our technology, where we've been a disruptor and basically leveraging our technology as a way to deliver the same solutions as accurate or more accurate than these leading large firms, cheaper and faster. And those are definitely, we put a little more polish in our marketing, but those are the traits that we go to market with as far as deliver high quality, faster, cheaper than the competition.
All right. Well, that sounds good, Tom. Does the market value that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the Big Four, just they're expensive. Like, imagine large law firms billing out at $300, $400, $500 an hour. And so if we can come in at 25, 50, 75% cheaper cost for, an annual tax effort and do it as accurate or more accurate, why wouldn't you give it a second thought?
Yep. So how do you prove that that's valued by the market?
So we have part of our technology, we're able to leverage a report from a competitor, run it through a scanner to pull out the relevant bits of information and assess, yeah, we agree with their assessment, or actually we found these 3 or 4 things that would have actually saved you, X amount more on your taxes. And oh, by the way, we would have only charged you, let's just say $10,000, whereas, you might have had a bill for $85,000 or whatever it was from that firm.
So it sounds like you've got a situation where you can actually take some of those competitive reports, and you're really reinforcing 2 things. So people are bringing those to you and you're running it through your process, and you're demonstrating the fact that they bring that to you demonstrates that they value what you're saying, right? They're giving you that opportunity. So that's your proof point. And then secondly, when you come back with the results that are differentiated from your competition, right? That's also saying, look, see how we're different. So I love that approach. There are lots of ways we can prove those things. Again, that proof is a very, very important question to ask. If you've got, in this kind of case, we know that they value it because we have dozens, hundreds, thousands of people that come to us and ask us to do this quick analysis for them. So we're, that's a proof point. They wouldn't come to us if they didn't value us or believe that differentiation. And then you show that you're unique as well. Lots of places we can grab that kind of stuff. Win-loss analysis, we talk about throughout the classes. Win-loss analysis is the gift that keeps on giving, right? So when people say that this is part of their buying criteria, why did you buy from us? Well, we bought because you had X and your competitors didn't, whatever that might be. So win-loss is a great place to get that competitive, or to get those proof points as well. So all kinds of ways we can do that, but you really need to ask those questions because you start to believe your own propaganda sometimes. So we have to be careful.
Yep.
Anybody get the bonus? Did we get anybody who came up with something that was a distinctive competency that you don't reinforce in the market today? Anybody come up with any of those? Everybody says, nah, I came up with one, but I'm not telling anybody till I actually get it out in the market, right? It probably happens. We teach these classes obviously every week. I teach this class that this content comes from probably, I don't know, once or twice a month myself personally. And I would say probably every second or third session of a group of this size, somebody says, wow, I came up with one that nobody else has come up with, right? We're not talking about it. We need to reinforce this in the market. So it can really be a good brainstorming session to take you in new directions and give you new things you want to reinforce. So thank you, everyone. Jason, I'll turn it back over to you. I think that you guys did a great job and pulled some of those together and so on. So thanks for that. Thanks for participating in that little breakout.
Yeah, it was some really great discussion and a really great session. Thanks, Steve. Glad you could be here, and it was really cool to listen to how each of you are approaching your distinctive competencies. It gave me ideas for just thinking about my own company's distinctive competencies through a different lens as well. Just kind of hearing the different perspectives and how you're finding those proof points, especially throughout the different companies that we have represented here today. So that was really cool. Thanks, Steve. Thanks everybody who participated, and thanks everybody who kind of stood out there in front and shared some of your own perspectives and experiences. That really is what makes these things very rich. As we wrap up today, I want to tell you next week we're going to have a book discussion on the book Inspired by Marty Kagan. A lot of people have said if you read only one book on product management, this is the book to read. I know Steve will tell me there's another one to read. Having said that, there is a lot of really good meat in Inspired, and we're going to talk about that next week, whether you've read the book or not. It's going to be a discussion that's valuable for you. We hope you'll come back and join us for that. Make sure that you also fill out the survey, which is linked from the resources page. And you should also get an email in a few minutes after the event ends as well with a link to the survey. But you can go back to the resources page and click through on that. Make sure you let us know how this session worked out for you and give us that feedback so we can keep making them better. I want to thank everybody for joining today. I want to really, really thank Pragmatic Institute for their strong support of product coffee and product camps around the world. I want to thank Skookum for your strong support of product coffee, and encourage everybody to go check out both of those companies if you're looking for training and certification in the rich space of product management and innovation. And if you're check out Pragmatic Institute. And if you're looking for a partner to help your company innovate and go to the next level and really kind of complete this process of digital transformation and mastering customer experience, reach out to Skookum and learn what Skookum can do for you as well. Skookum.com and pragmaticinstitute.com. Thanks everybody for being here once again, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week as well. So have a great week.